Hello, everybody. How are you guys doing? I am super duper excited. First of all, she probably already know, but I am totally fangirling because I get to hang out with Rhonda McKnight. And guys, we are so excited. Her highly anticipated women's fiction new release, The Thing About Home. She comes to hang out with us on today to talk about this amazing, amazing story. And Rhonda, I promise you, I'm gonna try to ask questions without spoilers. But this book is so good, girl. It's so good.
Thank you.
I love it. If you're just joining us, you already know what to do. Like, tag, and share. Tell a friend to come on down to the cafe because we are hanging out with the one and only Rhonda McKnight on today. Rhonda, introduce yourself to the people, my friend.
So, people, I am Rhonda McKnight. I'm the author of 25 books. This is the 25th one, with all these notes sticking out of it. I have written about 20 romance stories, some of them novella length, some novel length. I've written some contemporary Christian fiction that is like a not romance, but family drama, relationship drama. That's what they used to call it back in the day, relationship drama. And now I'm writing women's fiction. So this is my first women's fiction novel, The Thing About Home. It came out on May 9th. And other than that, I am always a Jersey girl who has been transplanted to the South. I lived in Atlanta for 20 years, and I'm currently living in South Carolina, where my lovely new novel is set.
I love it. I love it. And they are giving you love. You got Helen Gibson hanging out with us. She's like, hey, y'all. Hey, Rhonda. Of course, you know, we have Mama Tony in the house hanging out with us. We have Caitlin hanging out with us. Veronica Lockett is hanging out with us. Miss Myra is hanging out with us as well. And they are giving you some love.
Hello.
Super excited about this book, and I know that you are too. But it's amazing to see, when you do the cover reveal and then you do the coming soon and all of that stuff, and then it's like bam, it is here. So I'm excited for you and this journey in women's fiction. But can you share with us a little bit? You know, I love the cover, The Thing About Home. Tell us a little bit about this cover, my friend.
Well, the cover is when you there's a package you put together for your publisher, and you tell them kind of what you want your book to look like. And so a lot of times you're sort of hunting up images and things. And I knew that I wanted a image of the Low Country. Black River is a very important part of this book. It's almost a character in the book. So is the farmhouse. So it was very important for me to have those images in the picture. I did not, originally, there was not an image of Casey. It was just sort of an image without a person. And then they sent it to me, and they actually recommended it. They were like, we think, based on what your other book covers look like, that your fans are kind of used to you having people on your covers. And I was like, fine. But I really want her front facing. I was like, okay, I want it front facing, so can we find an image that's just like the back of a woman? And so voila, there we go. They included a little bit of that Hank blue that's common in the Low Country. I just love it. I can't. The compliments won't stop about it. It's become truly a marketing tool for the book, because people see the cover and they're like, oh, I love that cover. What's it about? And so that's what you want. That's what you want a cover to do for you. So the cover has been a real treat.
I love that. I love that. Now, we talked a little bit about the cover, and I have to ask you, The Thing About Home. Now, spill a little tea. Was this the original working title for you, or did you have a different title? Tell us about this title, The Thing About Home. And I love it, by the way.
Thank you. I had to get used to the title. The original this book had several titles. One of the titles, the original title is Black Mixed with Black. And so
you're really spilling some tea. The original title.
It goes way back. And so that was the original title that I was working with. And so I wasn't sure how marketable that would be. So it became a secondary title, because when you send titles to the publisher, you send like a list. And so the title that I proposed and sort of pitched was The Opposite of Everything, because it was going to be a story about a woman who was going to be living her life the opposite of everything that she had ever lived.
Okay.
And so that was the working title for the project. And then I had a list of other titles, and Black Mixed with Black was one of them. So they came back to me, and I don't know, they didn't want the opposite of everything. They came back with a list of titles. The thing about home was at the top. I wasn't crazy. I didn't like it at first. And so I didn't like any of them. So let's just be clear. So then my mother said, because I think I was so invested in Black Mixed with Black, and then I had already compromised, I felt, with the opposite of everything. So when they came back with those, my mother was like, oh, I love the thing about home. And I said, really? She's like, oh yeah, that's got legs. And so I was like, okay. So I decided to accept that title. But then as I was doing my revisions and working through the manuscript, I realized, oh my gosh, like this is so the right title for this book. It's the perfect title for this book. I don't know how I didn't see it. I was glad my mother did. And so, because it is very much a story about finding home as a physical place, a spiritual place, and an emotional place. And so, yeah.
Wow. Rhonda, really, you spilled some tea. I mean, we found out what the original title was. We found out what the working title was. But then, look, thank you, Mama Bessie. Shout out to Mama Bessie. If y'all don't know, Mama Bessie is Rhonda McKnight's mom. Shout out for you for giving the thing about home some love. I love the cover. Now, Rhonda, let's talk about the book a little bit, okay? And I promise you guys, I'll try not to do too much tea spilling, but if you have not read this book, I'm gonna need you to go and get this book, okay? So, Rhonda, tell us a little bit about what inspired this story, because this is an amazing story, by the way, and it's dual timeline. We're gonna talk about that a little bit too. But what inspired this story for you?
Well, actually, my inspiration came from during the pandemic, because that's when I actually wrote the proposal. Thank you, Veronica. That's when I actually wrote the proposal. And I was gardening in 2020, like a lot of people were. Now, I was not, we people who weren't pandemic gardeners, we like to, take credit for that. We need to like to let people know we were gardening before the pandemic. So I was gardening, and I was spending a lot of time outside. And so over the course of from when I planted until I had a harvest, I watched corn and wheat and things grow all around me. Our family land backs up to a huge farm, cornfields, and then across the street is wheat and cows, and there's vegetable farm. It's country. It's rural, okay? So I started thinking about the land and how our people acquired land way back when. You know what I mean? When land's always been expensive, and how just kind of the legacy of Black farmers and how so much land has been lost to Black farmers over the last, really, I guess about 100 years. And so as I thought about that, I thought, I was also thinking a lot of things were swirling around in my mind when I was sitting out there, because that's what happens. When you sit out in the sunshine outside, you just start thinking about stuff, So I started thinking also about my writing and what I wanted to. I wasn't writing, I was doing editing. I was doing work for clients. I had not written anything for 2020, but I was thinking about what I wanted to write, and thinking I wanted to write women's fiction only because I've been writing romance, which I love, my readers love, but also thinking that I wanted to write a book that would have kind of a little more of a lasting legacy for readers. A lot of times readers who love your work will read a romance novel, or not even just a romance novel, fantasy, any genre, whatever it is. They'll read the book, they'll love it to pieces, and 3 days later they've read 2 other books and they don't even remember what they read. Gobble it up and move on, And we love that. As writers, I love hearing that. I stayed up all night. I finished a book. Whew, that was done. And that was fine. But I wanted to write something that would kind of stick, I felt, a little more with readers. Not saying that my other projects don't, because people do remember them. But something that would kind of stick and make readers just sort of think a little bit more, learn some things. I I just wanted to go deeper. And so once I started asking myself the what if questions, well, what if she was from New York? And what if she came down and she was on a farm? What if a woman who had never farmed or gardened came down and she was on a farm? And some of that was, I know personally that, a lot of Black people, in particular Black women, have really complicated relationships with outside, with bugs and the whole thing. And it's unfortunately it's an aspect of epigenetics, inherited trauma from the days when our ancestors were enslaved. So there's this thing about like the outside and bugs and farms and gardens, and I don't do that because of the history that's connected to it. And so I knew that would be a challenge for a lot of readers, so I wanted to sort of soften it. So I said, well, what if I take someone who is totally a girl's girl, completely an inside girl, and put her outside?
Yeah.
And so that became like one of the, well, what if this and what if that? And then I think there was a story about a social media influencer that went viral, like it was cyberbullying or whatever. And I thought, oh my gosh, so what if she's a social media influencer who loses her brand, goes ham,
yeah.
and she's running. And so it was just like a series of questions I asked myself, and it really came together fast. I had been trying to think of a project for a long time, but when I finally sat down and started thinking about what could I do, the wheels turned really fast. Like literally in a weekend, I had an entire outline.
Wow. That is so exciting, and it's tea spilling. Okay, I love it. Now, Rhonda, you tackled something that, if anybody know anything about me, I am a huge fan of dual timelines. Okay, I love a good dual timeline. And you did an amazing job, my friend. Can you tell us, how did that how did that come to be? Was it originally going to be a dual timeline, or that just kind of snuck up on you?
That definitely snuck up on me. It became a dual timeline story as a function of trying to get a good story.
Okay.
I took a contemporary novel to my publisher, and what happened is there were supposed to be journal entries in the story, and as I started writing them, I didn't like them. I felt like they were falling flat, and I was really struggling with telling the historical story in these journal entries. And so I got really kind of frustrated with it, started thinking, why did I take this project on, because I had a contract, a publisher already.
Right.
And so I went to bed one night really kind of frustrated with the whole thing, thinking, I don't want to do this. Lord, help me. I need ideas, creative wisdom, the whole thing, and praying. And so I woke up at 2 a.m, and I saw this woman washing her hands in moving water, a river. I knew it was a river.
Okay.
And I was like, what is that? And so I just heard, it was like I felt this voice in my spirit, like I have a story. I have something to say. So I was like, okay. So I went to my laptop and I started typing. I typed probably to 4 a.m. I had the first chapter that went back in to 1867. So then I was like, oh my gosh, this is Odessa. This is her grandmother. What do I do with this, And so I thought, can I do this? Is this good? And I thought, I think this is good. So I contacted my editor. So then I wrote another historical chapter. So I was like, okay, so this is happening. This is working.
Right. This is something.
This is something, right? And so I set up a meeting with my editor and, told her that, I had two major changes. One was that Casey was actually in the story, the thing about home, Casey meets her grandmother. And so I said, I think we're going to be meeting a grandfather. We're not going to meet a grandfather because it was originally supposed to be a grandfather. We're going to meet a grandmother. And I have these chapters that go back to 1867, go back to Reconstruction. And so, is that okay? So, we talked about it a little. She was originally like, it's fine. It sounds great, whatever you want to do. And so we kind of talked about, how much of it do you think is going to be that? Because, sometimes if it's a lot, they have to market it differently. It becomes a historical novel as opposed to a contemporary novel. So we talked about the mechanics of it. But she was 100% on board, very supportive, just do whatever you want to do. And so here I was, somebody who loved, and I loved, hi Anna, I love and Belle and Mama Tony and who else was it? Somebody else, Myra. I love historical fiction. Absolutely love it to pieces. And I read a lot of it. So I think that was kind of the reading of it so much was sort of settling into my spirit. And I love history. Like history is my favorite subject. And so I think that combination, just the reading and the loving history, because I homeschool my son, and our homeschool is sort of structured around history. It's his favorite topic. Why not, right? You write things history, everything is history but math, and science. But so I think it's just the history was kind of like in me. And so I thought, I was nervous about it though, because I want to give my props to historical fiction writers. It's a lot of work to write. I can't even imagine doing a whole novel. It's the research is so much, and there's a lot. You've got to be careful about every word you use, because you can date you can use words that they weren't even using back then, expression and things that you naturally do, and you don't see it. And so if you don't have a great editor, they're not gonna see it either. And so it's a lot of work to get a historical voice correct. So I was very nervous about that, because I certainly did not want to mess that up. Like, I'm gonna mess up a story, it needs to be contemporary.
Right. Look, and we don't want to mess up that either, but it's a big deal, when you're doing some historical fiction in there. I love that. Guys, if you are just joining us, I am super, super excited, and I'm fangirling. I get to hang out with Rhonda McKnight on today, guys. She is telling us a little bit about The Thing About Home, which is her latest release, and we are all super, super excited about it as well. Now, Rhonda, you spoke a little bit about the research. Can you go a little bit more in depth with us? Like, what was that research like? Because, you got some gems of information in here with that dual timeline and the historical fiction piece. So what was that research like for you?
The research was the kind of the fun part. I love doing research anyway. I love doing research about anything. So I'm that person that will go down the rabbit hole on any topic. I'll go down the rabbit hole about going on vacation to Disney or a cruise trip, because I gotta know all the things. So the research, but balancing how much to include in the book, and so that the book is not reading like your research isn't showing up. Your writing isn't. We call it writing. Your writing isn't showing up. People shouldn't see your writing. Was a bit of a challenge. And so looking back now at it, I feel like if I nailed anything, it was that. I know people love a lot of different things about the book, but I look at the history and think, this was right. This was just enough. And the things that people learned, the things that I learned as I was researching, and the things that I shared in the book are things like I've had 2 South Carolina educators now. Was one, as of this week, it's 2 South Carolina educators who have been teaching for a long time, who's told me they did not know the things that were in the book.
Oh, wow.
So, wow, right? And I've had a lot of people from South Carolina. When I think about educators, it's like, okay, like she's an actual teacher, but I've had people from South Carolina tell me, I don't know none of that, and so because the history isn't taught. And so even in the book, I make and this is not a spoiler, but it's just something that's said, there's a character in the book who tells, another character, I live here and I didn't know all of this until I went to college. I in this educational system. So I think that, a lot of our history is hidden. We're currently struggling at this point in this country with people not wanting history to be shared or told. And so history has always been, our history in particular has always been hidden. And I think that's why so many readers love reading historical fiction written with from the Black experience, because it really, they're learning things they didn't know, nuggets that are really important that have been left out and buried. And who doesn't like to find a treasure?
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Guys, if you are just joining us, we're hanging out with author Rhonda McKnight on today. Her latest release, The Thing About Home, is what we're talking about. If you haven't done so already, like, tag, and share. Tell a friend to come on down to the cafe. If you have a question or a comment for Rhonda, feel free to put it in the comment section as well. And of course, y'all know coming up, Rhonda will read a little snippet from The Thing About Home as well. Now, Rhonda, let's talk about the characters, because you have some amazing characters in this book, in the present day as well as in the historical part as well. But with this story, what came first for you? Was it the characters or was it the plot of this story for The Thing About Home?
That's a great question. I think characters always come first for me.
Okay.
But I think that I met Casey, and obviously I met Casey first, but I think the premise, the idea of, a city girl coming to the country and sort of, restarting her life, finding herself was first. So the premise was actually, the plot in this case was actually first. And then I got to know the woman whose story I was going to tell.
I love that. I love that. Wow. Wow. Now, Rhonda, let's talk about these characters a little bit, and then I'm going to let you read a little snippet for the people. So first, let's start with, of course, Casey Black. We love us some Casey Black. And Rhonda, let me just tell you, by the way, you had some one-liners in here. I was like, okay, really, Rhonda? Like, they were just like, yeah, those one-liners, okay? So let's talk a little bit about Casey Black. Can you describe her for the people? There may be some people that have not read it yet. They may have the book, but haven't read it yet. Tell us about Casey Black.
Okay, so Casey Black is a 36-year-old woman. She's a social media influencer, and the way that she built her business was on the back of her successful modeling career. She had been modeling since the time she was 2 years old. Her mother is her manager. She's got a momager. And so she's always worked. She's always worked hard, and she's always been in front of the camera. And so one of the things that I thought about as I developed the story was that I wanted to create a woman who had lived her life very publicly, who loved being in front of the camera, or at least had learned to do that, but really didn't know who she was behind the camera. So that was a very important aspect of the story. And a camera actually, again, is sort of almost that concept of her not knowing who she was behind the camera becomes it's kind of almost one of the themes in the story. And so, because without a spoiler, it's kind of part of her journey. And so so the character herself is, like I said, has been very much managed by her mother to have a successful career, and she's never known her father. You learn very early in the book that her father died when she was very, very young, before she was born, actually. I'll go ahead and say it. And so, the book is, and let me just say what the book is about. The book is a story about a social media influencer who was left at the altar during her vow renewal, and that incident kind of sparks a chain of incidents that affect her in such a way that she totally ruins her brand, and she decides to get away, go to the South Carolina Low Country to kind of connect with family that she's never known. So that's what the story is about. And so Casey is married, the book opens. She has this wedding that's planned that's extremely public. It's a part of her business. She's been planning for 7 months. She's got 4 million followers. The whole world is watching. And her husband basically, this wedding is, the wedding is on the wedding does not happen. You learn that on line 2 of the back cover. It is seriously not a spoiler. And so it's the point that kicks off for her. So, like I said, she's a person who is very beautiful, very public. Seems like she has it all together on the surface. And what y'all know about people sometimes that seem like they got it all together on the surface? They may not have it together behind the scenes.
Rhonda, all I'm gonna say is when you read the scene, when she have her moment, in front of the camera with all her followers. I was like, oh Lord, poor Casey. I was like, Casey is having a meltdown, and I was like,
oh, don't do it.
look, and it was live and in Rhonda,
don't do it.
Rhonda, I'm reading it and I'm cringing. I'm like, oh Lord. I'm like, Casey, don't do it. Don't do it. And then when she goes back and forth with the followers, I was like, oh Lord. Oh Lord. But you wrote it so well. I mean, I laughed. But the reality of it, you could just see it being played out.
You could definitely see it unfold, because I think we've all kind of seen that, and we've certainly seen it in movies. And so it's a moment where, and it sort of speaks to the idea, because I've written other books about women who lose it, whose lives are totally affected by circumstances that literally their lives change in a moment. I wrote a story about a woman who, a viral video, happened on prom night. And she was in hiding for 12 years. So I've written that one. I've written a story about a reality TV star with, some drama. So I've kind of done this before. I think I enjoy it. And I think the reason I enjoy it is because I see so many women, in particular, I'll say women, that I see doing things on social media that I think in 10 years, you will want that moment back. You'll wish that you had not chosen that path. And people do it all the time. They want the moment back, and you can't take back a video. You can't take back a picture. You can't take back those things once they hit social media. People have screenshot them. They're forever. And so I really enjoyed watching Casey spiral. It was fun. It was fun to write. So, and I'm quick with the smart mouth and the banter. So I enjoyed, rolling that out.
I love that. Now, Rhonda, right before you do your reading, so you can kind of prepare that, I wanted to ask you, when you think about the characters, and it could be characters in the present day, characters in the historical portion, or what have you, which character for you was the most fun or interesting to write? And then which character at moments gave you pause where you kind of had to sit with that character and say, okay, what is it that we're trying to flesh out that we want the people to get from this person?
The character that I enjoyed writing the most, that challenged me the most, was Casey's great-grandmother, Odessa. Because obviously I've never been to I have not lived during Reconstruction. And Reconstruction was a time, particularly in Georgetown, was very unique. Reconstruction lasted 10 years. In Georgetown, it almost lasted 20 because of the political landscape in that county. And so it was a little different. And I enjoyed the challenge of writing a woman who was navigating her life, trying to exercise agency, wanting to be fully who she wanted to be, because she had dreams, and also living inside the expectations of the men in her life, her father, husband, and even other women. And so one of the things about Odessa was I wanted to write, I don't know the name of one of my great-grandmothers. And so, but even with that, not knowing her name, with the other that I do know her name, I wanted to imagine, because I know that we as a people have a rich and beautiful, resilient history. Okay, I think we know that. A lot of books and movies sometimes can kind of, you see a lot that was very hard, a lot where there was struggle. There are a lot of struggle stories. There's a lot of trauma, and people don't always want to read that, don't always want to see it in movies. Sometimes, people in particular since COVID, folks have just become straight tender. You know what I'm saying? And so I wanted to write a story set during that time, but I wanted it to be inspiring. I wanted it to be hopeful. I wanted it to be encouraging. And so I decided to imagine a life for my great-grandmother. What would it have been like for her? What would I have wanted for her? And so I created that for Odessa. So that made her my absolute favorite character because I created a world in which she was able to operate and have love, have learn, experience some of the dreams that she wanted to have. You know, it wasn't just everything wasn't about everyone else. She did have some opportunities to do some things that she wanted. And she was a great mom. You know, it's just a good member of her community. All the things that I know that great grandmother Wilson on my that would have been for me would have been, and great grandmother McKnight, both of them. I know that they were baddies. So I created a story for them, and so I love that. The other character who kind of challenged me quite a bit was Grana, present. She was, 100 years old. I just decided the grandmothers were going to be baddies, okay? So, Grana rocked it. But more importantly, I wanted her to be, a source of inspiration, comfort for Casey. She was a person that was grieving. There are several stories in this book. There are several incidences in this book. There are people grieving throughout this book, grieving losses, the men and the women, because in life, we have losses and we have grief. Even if you don't think we're grieving. You can grieve the loss of a career, the loss of a dream. It's just not about grieving the loss of people. Grieve the loss of an experience that you didn't have. And so there are lots of moments in this book where people are grieving the right way, sometimes the wrong way, but in the ways that humans do. And so I wanted that became just an overarching theme in the book. So I enjoyed Odessa and Grana, I think, the most. And kind of out of the men, Nigel.
Yes.
Because look, I paired my three loves. I love his fiction novel. I love some romance, and I love historical fiction. I got to blend my loves. I got to bring my romance in because Nigel was all the things any man, any woman could ever want.
I love that. I love that. Guys, if you're just joining us, we're hanging out with Rhonda McKnight, talking about her latest release, The Thing About Home. And Rhonda, I'm going to allow you to set it up of what you're getting ready to share with us on today. She's going to give y'all just a little snippet, as I always say, just enough to wet your whistle.
Okay, so I have been reading okay, I'm just going to read what I've been reading. Okay, I'll read what I've been reading. I feel like I don't want to read what I've been reading. Okay, so I'm going to read a little something different. I've been reading from the first chapter 4 weeks. So today I'm going to jump into chapter 5. And Casey, like I said, no, I'm going to go back to 1. Okay, here we go. So this is a setup. Casey is on her way to her vow renewal ceremony. And so she's in the limo, and so here we are. Let's see. My phone buzzed. Expecting it to be Drew, I warmed a little around my heart. He hadn't texted or called me since early this morning. We weren't in new love, but I expected a little excitement and romance. The text was from my mother. Don't be late. As if, I whispered, deleting it. I was 36 years old, and I'd never been late to any meeting or event in my life. My mother's lectures on timeliness were repetitive and exhausting, yet effective, so I was grateful for her consistency. I swiped until I located my husband's number and tapped to dial. After 2 rings, it went to voicemail. He's busy. That's what I told myself. But a strange tension hovered in our home, one that I summarily dismissed as pre-renewal stress. But try as I might to ignore it, my intuition kept nagging in a familiar female voice, my own, that something was wrong. Or maybe it was that something was worse. Things had been off between Drew and me for a long time, but in 45 minutes, we declare our love and celebrate it, and then fix whatever might be broken under the warm Hawaiian sun. 20 minutes later, the annoying little voice could no longer be ignored. This wasn't a wedding, but I told Drew I didn't want him to see me until the ceremony. So when he knocked on the door of my bridal suite and insisted I join him across the hall in the pastor's study, the hairs stood up on the back of my neck. The heavy door closed with a thud that echoed in the corridor behind us. I waited a beat, and then another, as Drew stood there in his luxurious Giorgio Armani tuxedo, the tuxedo I picked out for him. Discomfort reddened his face. He looked away from me. When he returned his expression was odd, so I steeled myself for what he had to say. I can't go through with the ceremony. Drew's brittle words floated above me. They wouldn't land in my brain, but I registered fear. It slammed into my back, splitting me in two. Casey, 90 seconds ago, and Casey now.
Woo, Rhonda, when he said, I can't go through with the ceremony, I was like, ooh, okay. Yes, okay. So, guys, she just gave you a little snippet, and this is at the beginning of the book. Okay, so let me just tell you, first of all, once you even open the book, Rhonda just, she just hit you with a headliner. Okay, so it's such an exciting read, Rhonda. We're so excited for you, and we're gonna do something a little different. We usually do a little this or that, but we're gonna do a little bit of word association. Okay, so I'm gonna say a word or a phrase, and I want you to tell me what comes to mind. Okay, so first of all right, the Low Country.
Oh, shrimp. Now keep in mind, I'm hungry right now, so a lot of food might come to my mind.
Oh, the food. Yes, definitely. Okay, next one, Rhonda. Black River.
Oh, gosh, the river came to my mind. Georgetown.
Okay.
It's here in the county that's where I even got inspired. Black River backs up to our property. So, but for some reason, I just thought Georgetown.
Okay. Next up, triple berry cobbler. I know I'm talking about food, right?
My freezer. I'm thinking I want to go get them berries out and make one tonight.
I love that. And guys, Rhonda actually has the recipe available as well. And I'm sure she'll share with you of how you can get your hands on a copy of the triple berry cobbler recipe as well. Okay, Rhonda, I have to say this person's name, Nigel. And you spoke about him a little bit earlier.
I ain't gonna say what came to my mind because anybody on these internet streets, but because he never had no shirt on. So I just thought of a chest, a man's chest. That's what I think about when I think about Nigel, because we see far too much of it in the book.
I love it. Guys, if you are just joining us, we are hanging out with Rhonda McKnight, guys, and she has shared a little bit about us and spilled some tea about the thing about home. We will definitely be sharing with you how you can get your hands on a copy of this amazing story as well in just a bit. And of course, there is a giveaway, and I'm going to allow Rhonda to share with us what the giveaway is going to be.
Okay, so I am giving away a copy of The Thing About Home. The winner can either win an ebook copy or you can win a signed copy, a paperback copy. I'll mail it to you. So it's up to you. You pick whichever is most convenient for you, because I know some people don't have storage for books, and some people actually love having a book in hand. So it's up to the reader to decide which one they want.
I love it. And Rhonda, Anna said, nah, forget the recipe. FedEx her a slice.
But it is the easiest cobbler. It's a cobbler that I make all the time. It's the easiest cobbler in the world. And actually, I'll go ahead and tell you, it's there is a book club kit on my website, on my book club page. And so if you download the book club kit, the recipe is in there. And so, so that's where it is. But it is the easiest crust you'll ever make in a cobbler. That's what I love about it. It's got a homemade crust, but it's not really like a crust that you have to make. You have to look at the recipe to understand.
I love it. Okay, Rhonda, I'm ready. And you know how we do it here. I'm going to go up and down the comment section, my friend, and you're going to tell me when to stop. And that person will be the winner of a copy of The Thing About Home. Okay, let's see, Rhonda. I am ready when you are. And let's see, I am starting. Okay.
We are going to stop.
Okay. Louise Brown, you are the winner of a copy of The Thing About Home. If you will inbox me, when you inbox me, let me know if you want the ebook or the print copy. So Rhonda will send you which one your preference as well. And we will get you a copy of that. Thank you so much for
All right. Congratulations, Louise.
participating. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, Rhonda, before we end, and the time goes by so fast, can you share with us what did you, Rhonda McKnight, what did you enjoy about writing The Thing About Home?
What did I enjoy writing about The Thing About Home? I enjoyed writing, really, I enjoyed writing all the romantic scenes with Nigel. I won't say how the book ends. I'm not going to say if she reconciles with her husband or if she ends up with our handsome, sexy farm manager. But I enjoyed writing their scenes because I'm such a romance head. But I also enjoyed writing the scenes, each scene where Casey grew as a person, and like you physically could see her, like literally could see change happening to her. There's a pivotal scene in the book where something happens and people are sort of saying, oh, you go over here, Casey, we'll take care of this. And she says, no, I'm not your lost little relation anymore. Give me something to do. And so that was not the girl at the beginning of the young woman at the beginning of the book. And so I loved growing Casey as a person. But more than anything, I loved that showing the just how much family and friends and people that we call family really give us that sense of comfort and that feeling of home. Because like I said originally at the beginning, home is not just a place.
Right.
Tagline for the book, home is a feeling. It's a state of being emotionally. It's a state of mental consciousness. It's where you're comfortable in your skin.
Yeah.
And she was a person who had to find a place of being comfortable in her skin. And she found that in this journey. And so I very much loved when I came to the end of the story for her, the pivotal moments where those changes shifted. I absolutely loved that. And I thought, this is what I want to put in the world. This is what I want readers to. I felt like people would feel it and they would emotionally connect to it. Women in particular, because I write stories for women. Always wanting women to be empowered, and so that it was those moments were my favorite parts to write. But other than that, girl, it's just the end. Because let me tell you something, a sister be on deadline and she want to be done.
Well, I love it. And you brought us an amazing, amazing story with The Thing About Home. And I'm sure the individuals who are watching that have read the book already, they feel the same way as well. And that leads me to the next question, Rhonda. How can they get their hands on a copy of this amazing story?
Okay, so The Thing About Home is available, as we can see, in paperback. It's also available in ebook format, and it's available in audiobook format. Wherever books are sold. I am currently Turning Page Bookshop in Goose Creek, South Carolina has signed copies, a lot of them. So I'm encouraging people to shop indie anyway. I think most authors are at this point. And so she is an indie bookstore, the only she's the only Black owned indie bookstore in South Carolina, and she's a woman. And she's awesome. She's a beautiful person. And so if you're looking for an autographed copy, certainly order from there. But otherwise, you can pretty much get it anywhere. You may want to call your local bookstore before you head over. It is a new book, but it doesn't take long for books to become not new in the bookstore. And so you may want to call, hey, you got a copy of The Thing About Home, I'd like to pick it up. They'll either say yes, or they'll say, I can have it for you in a week. And so those are the ways. Of course, online retailers, it's pretty much available everywhere. Your Targets, your Walmarts, all the things. And I actually have a list of all the stores with click-throughs on my website. I've been busy updating that website. That website is a great resource for this book.
Look, I love that. And guys, you heard it from Rhonda. It is definitely available where books are sold. And in addition to that, it's available in all three forms: audio, ebook, and print. So whatever suits your fancy, you can get you a copy of The Thing About Home. Now, Rhonda, we have to tell the people, how can they stay connected with you?
So I'm on social media more than I need to be. Okay. So you can follow me on my Facebook reader page, which is facebook.com books by Rhonda. Instagram is really truly my favorite form of social media right now. So I'm author Rhonda McKnight on Instagram. I'm on TikTok, being silly sometimes. And so you can follow, being silly, being unique on TikTok. I think different on TikTok than I am on all my platforms. And so you can follow me there. Reach out to me through my website, my email address. I would love to hear from anyone after they read the book, their thoughts, and certainly looking for reviews on Goodreads and Amazon and wherever you bought the book. And BookBub, I'd love to be followed on BookBub. So I'm kind of everywhere, but if you want to connect and actually, I respond to every comment I ever get. I'm at that level. So if you say hi to me on Instagram or Facebook or ask me a question or DM me, you will get an answer. It may take me 24 hours or whatever if I'm on deadline or whatever, but you will get an answer from me. So just reach out to me. I love my readers. I love connecting with readers. I think that is maybe some of the reason I have so many faithful readers, because I think they know I love them. And I know most authors do, but I'm super social. So on top of being social and loving my readers, then, I'm able to make those connections that sometimes some introverts can't necessarily do. So, yeah. So
I love
I'm
it.
extroverted.
There you have it. You can reach out to Rhonda via her website, via social media, sign up for her newsletter as well, all of that good stuff. And of course, once you have read The Thing About Home, definitely leave a review. I know that author Rhonda McKnight will be so appreciative of that as well. Of course, if you see it out in the wild and you got your copy, take a picture, tag Rhonda. I know that's always exciting as well. Rhonda, thank you so much for hanging out with us here on the cafe. It has been amazing talking about your latest release, The Thing About Home. I am super, super excited for you, super, super proud of you as well. So, guys, of course, that's our show on this evening. And I want all of you to know, of course, I want Rhonda. Rhonda, is there anything else you want to add or tell the people before we leave today?
I guess I just want to tell the people two final things. One is, if you're in a book club, you're looking for a book club discussion book, this is it, okay? And there are discussion questions. I've got a great book club kit on my website too. So it's a great book club kit. Also, if I want to tell the people that if you enjoy it, tell a friend. Word of mouth sells books more than any other marketing you can possibly do. So I'll ask that of readers. And I want to say thank you to everyone who has ever read anything that I've written. I appreciate you.
You are so welcome. You are so welcome. Guys, that is our show on tonight. As we always say, have an amazing day, because we're having an amazing day. And until next time, we'll see you later. And go get you a copy of The Thing About Home and tell a friend to tell a friend that it's an amazing, amazing book. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.